everybody, we're back. Kevin Davidson, your host for Kevin's Corner, Real Estate from a Marketing Perspective. This is episode number 17. This is the second segment of the episode, and I have Jason Miller here from Renter's Warehouse. Say hi, Jason.
Hi there.
Tell
hey,
them
Kevin.
Hi, not me.
Hi, hey, Kevin. Hi, everybody. How are you?
You're not a little nervous, are you?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. So Jason is from Renter's Warehouse, and everybody that knows me knows that I spent 7 years in the property management business, and that's what Renter's Warehouse does. And I told Jason this when we had lunch a couple weeks ago, but Renter's Warehouse was our number one competition. Now that I'm not in property management, congratulations, you're now number one. So tell everybody what you do, what Renter's Warehouse is.
So I'm a VP of Sales and Marketing here in the Houston franchise, and spend most of my time running our team of licensed realtors who, by virtue of doing what we do, they're all very much investment real estate experts.
Now, I mentioned this in the first segment, but how true of a statement is it that when an agent deals with a real estate investor versus dealing with a traditional buyer and seller is not the same thing?
It's definitely not the same thing, and that's a great question. And we do both. And then there's kind of a little bit of the middle ground where we hold someone's hand. We call it the accidental investor, right? That's the one that they bought a house to live in, and they bought it to live in. They didn't buy it as an investment, and then they have an opportunity or life happens or whatever. They need to move. They don't want to sell the house. They want to rent it. And so then we help them change gears mentally from being a homeowner to being an investor, and so that they no longer see that house as a home, but now it's a business.
Why would you do that? What is it about the house or the situation they're in that makes you convince them to be an investor versus live in the house?
It depends on the situation, but like I said, it depends. Sometimes they didn't necessarily want to be an investor, so we're expounding on the virtues of having a rental property as a business, and sometimes they want to be, and then we're actually explaining the business to them.
Okay. In my experience, real estate investors either get it or they don't. Not everybody can be a real estate investor, but if you are a real estate investor, whether you're working with an agent or you're not, you already have your own portfolio. In my experience, I'll say a large percentage of real estate investors end up, if they do it in the beginning, they end up realizing, I don't want to manage this. Okay, 100%. I don't want to end up being like Kevin, bald-headed, pulling their hair out.
It's true.
So what are some of the things that happen to investors that make them realize they need somebody like you in your company?
Well, ultimately, what it comes down to is, I phrase it as the question, what's your time worth? Right?
Exactly.
And there's a formula for it, right? You can take your income, divide it by 2,000, 40-hour work week, and that gives you a rough amount what your time is worth. And so once people break that down, it doesn't take much time for it to be, it gets really onerous for what amounts to grunt work that really you can outsource. You know, our clients mostly fall into the three categories. They have a day job, they own a business, or they're retired. And in all three of those cases, they don't want to mess with the daily grunt work, even when things are going well. But especially if things go sideways, they may or may not have the expertise to handle an eviction smoothly or collections, effectively. So good or bad, there's real benefit. I mean, most people, if you have a yard guy or a pool guy, our basic property management service is $149 per month. Most people pay their pool guy or their yard guy more than that. So it doesn't take much for you to realize, hey, that's money well spent. You're not taking the phone calls during dinner, right, or whatever it may be.
My toilet's clogged at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's exactly right.
So what services does Renter's Warehouse offer? Are you guys a full-service property management company? Are you part-time? I mean, tell everybody what it is you do for investors.
Sure. Great question. So, and I tell people a lot. Really, we are a full-service real estate brokerage and a property management company all under the same roof. So we can certainly do retail buys and sells. We do those all the time. But probably 75-80% of what we do is leasing and managing the properties. We will happily do just one or the other, depending on the client situation, but we really play our best baseball when we're doing both.
And you guys have real estate agents on staff that handle your transactions, correct?
They are independent contractors, but they are exclusive to us,
Yeah.
and they work more or less geographically. We cover the entire universe that we call the Houston area.
And you guys are, in order to do what you do, you're a brokerage, right? You're
Correct.
Brokerage license,
Correct.
everything. So, tell everybody a little bit about Renters Warehouse, where you guys operate, how big you are, how long you've been around.
Sure, great question. And I'm fortunate to be with some very experienced, trustworthy guys. Our CEO, Rich Drake, is one of the owners, also one of the owners of the largest and oldest Homevestors franchises.
I've heard of
The Houston guys, oldest and largest, him and his two partners, Jim Youngblood and Clyde Adams, did flips for years with the Homevestors, the We Buy Ugly Houses guys. Ended up
them?
That's them.
Oh,
That's
wow,
them.
okay.
And ended up with over time with a couple of hundred properties that they either couldn't or didn't want to flip.
Right.
So they rented them out.
Okay.
Started a property management company by default. As you know, it's its own business. It's a lot of work, a lot of moving parts, right?
Yeah.
So about 10 years ago, 11 years, no, coming up on 10 years, bought the Renters Warehouse franchise. So we handle the entire Houston area, Conroe to Galveston, Katy to Baytown.
Are you guys the only Renters Warehouse in Houston?
In Houston, correct.
Wow. So you have
The entire
whole-
Houston
okay.
area.
All right. And what type of, because I know when I was in the property management business, it wasn't feasible for us to work with every investor that called us.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of client, who's your target market? What type of client are you looking to work with?
So really, anyone that owns 50 doors or less, right?
Really?
Absolutely. And the bulk of our clients have between 1 and 5, right? We have had some over the years that had north of 100. Once you get to 50 and above, then the economics really start to make you lean towards, hey, maybe I hire somebody full time. But for somebody that has a handful, easily up to 20, that has it as an investment, not their primary source of income, Renters Warehouse or somebody like us makes a lot of sense for them.
So if I just want to be clear. So if I called you up and I said, I've got 200 properties and I don't like my property manager anymore, is that not something you'd want to take on?
We would absolutely run the numbers to see.
Okay.
And that's really where it kind of comes down to. A lot of the borderline cases, a lot of times, 100 units, depending on what the rents are, we can make a lot of sense.
And what do you guys manage? What type of property?
Oh, we're primarily single family, but
Okay.
we do a fair number of multifamily, a lot of duplexes and quads and 6-packs and 12-packs.
Tell
and
everybody
those
what the
things.
difference between a single family home, a multifamily, and a duplex, and quad, and all that is. Because when I first got into property management, I thought they were all the same. And they're not.
They're definitely not. For us, from the property management side, they kind of are. Because one door, one address.
Well, you manage them the same.
We manage them the same way, same amount of work, same amount of phone calls, emails, accounting, all those things.
But from a definitions perspective, if someone doesn't know, if I say I have a duplex, what does that mean?
So duplex is just two homes stuck together that share a wall.
Under the same roof.
Under the same roof. That's
Right.
So that's it. That's really the extent of it.
Exactly. So, and you guys don't manage commercial?
Only our own.
Okay.
We've got a building out in Manville that we have commercial space there, but no, we don't manage commercial for other
And
people.
what about apartments?
We've done a few. Some smaller complexes make sense. We've done some big ones for short-term turnarounds, but the bigger ones, that's where it tends to make more sense for them to go, okay, I'll go ahead and go through the pain and suffering of hiring someone and getting people on staff and then managing a little company within a company.
Exactly. Yeah, something that because you know where I was for
Right.
5 years.
Right.
Something we used to tell everybody is, well, why do you only manage single family homes? And I always remember what my old boss and now friend Steve Rosenberg used to say, because we're excellent at making cheese pizzas, and we're only going to make cheese pizzas. We're not going to put pepperoni in it. We're not going to put anything else on it because we don't know how to do that well. We know how to manage single-family homes. So in saying that, we managed very few duplexes, very few multifamily, no apartments, and no commercial because it's a different animal. We didn't know how to do it right.
It's different enough that it does make a difference. If you're aware, then you can cherry pick and make sure it's a good fit before you step off into something that's not a good fit, which is why we offer our 90-day test drive to new clients.
There you go.
Right? So they can try us out and see if it's going to be a good fit for everybody. Because if it's not, usually 3 months is enough time to be able to tell.
So remember that, guys. They have a 90-day guarantee.
Yep.
All
So
right.
within that first 90 days, if we decide it's not a good fit, you know, hey, this is too much, or I don't like it, or Jason's a jerk, or whatever it is,
Never.
they can pull the ripcord. They can pull the ripcord. We no termination fee, and we actually refund their management fees. So we really try hard to have them make a deliberate, conscious, low-pressure decision, right? Because usually when they come to us, there's pain involved. We want to help them with that pain, but once that pain has subsided, we want to make sure they can, you know, get the emotion out of the way, engage the brain also, and go, hey, yeah, this is still as good a fit as it looked like to start with.
So for someone out there that is considering getting into investing or is already has a portfolio, whether it be 1 or 10 or 15 or 20, could they come to you to find their next investment property, help them purchase it, get it ready to put it on the market, lease it, and manage it? Everything.
You just described our ideal client, and then we rinse and repeat.
There you
Absolutely.
go. Awesome.
We can do all
so
of those things.
So if you're a real estate investor that's looking to get into real estate investing, or you already are, and you're looking for a place that you can basically one-stop shop everything you need, Renter's Warehouse is where you should go.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about how does Renter's Warehouse, or how does Jason Miller get new leads? How do you guys grow? What do you do marketing wise?
So for years, our bread and butter was a two-prong approach. We did a lot of radio. So, you know, we're aware of the show that John is on, mentioned earlier in your other podcast.
The Real Estate Matters?
Correct. So, but we still do radio advertising. Over the years, we may have gotten saturated, or maybe the world has changed. So we're really doing even more. We've shifted our balance a bit to a more balanced approach between traditional radio, and then, you know, your iHeartRadio, your apps, and then your pure online advertising, Google, Facebook, et cetera.
Organic stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
So we really cover the universe of different media, whereas we used to be very radio focused.
Does the marketing that you're talking about from the online perspective, social media, Google, all that stuff, does that come from Renter's Warehouse corporate, or is there someone in your office that does that?
Some of both.
Some of
both. Yep.
Okay.
So on the radio and the big media buys, we do get some leverage from our corporate folks. But because we're Houston only, we also drill down ourselves into figuring out what the Houston market, or folks that want to be in the Houston market, respond to the best.
Okay. And then you guys have I'll call it a happy hour, but what do you call it that you do? Is it quarterly?
So
Or is it monthly?
For years, we sponsored we call it the big event, the big investor event, with Jet Lending, and we did that every month, and it was, free food, free beverages, and free education. It's fantastic. Just recently, just this year, we have shifted to doing happy hours still every month. It is the third Wednesday of every month, and we change locations to different parts of town because the Houston metro is so big, and we were getting a lot of feedback that, hey, I really wanted to come to your event, but at that time of day, it's an hour and a half,
Right.
to get there one way. And so what we've done is different venues around town, Jimmy Chongas and Gringos and those folks that have private rooms. And we do a happy hour. We still do a presentation, but still provide free food and beverage. But it's more of an intimate setting. So we can have, we traded some quantity for quality. Plus, we're touching folks more that were aware of us. But it was just logistically difficult to come and actually shake hands in person. So it's working out well.
Oh, that was my next question. Is it working, changing locations?
Absolutely.
What's the head count like at one of your events?
So we have gone from the big event we used to be, depending on the month, 400 to 1,000 people would show up, right, every month.
I think I went to one of your events in the DFW area
It was probably a similar format. It wasn't ours, but it was a similar format.
But it was with Jet Lending, though.
Yeah, Jet does business all over the state. Yeah. And now we're, 30 to 60 folks, but, it's more of a, even more of a conversation. The other was more of a class with a Q&A with some food. Mm-hmm. And now it's really more of a conversation. So you can get a little deeper into things.
So when you come to this event that we're talking about, mm-hmm. What can someone that comes expect, and who comes to it? Is it an agent? Is it an investor? Is it both? Are there vendors? Tell me who it is.
It's all of those things. We have an awful lot of realtors, brokers, vendors like insurance companies, construction companies, anyone that touches the real estate business, investors, wholesalers, mm-hmm. or wants to get into the business or wants to expand their footprint in the business. Mm-hmm. Come and they get real, honest, hard, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the business. And so people leave feeling good about who they talked to mm-hmm. and what they learned.
Who does who are your presenters? Is there like a presentation during the event?
There is a brief presentation, usually, 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
And usually it's a tag team between our CEO, Rich Drake, and our president and COO, Mark Zimmerman.
Okay. Are you guys, if I was a real estate agent, mm-hmm. are you guys looking for more agents?
We are not at the moment looking for more dedicated Renters Warehouse agents. We do have an affiliate brokerage that we're starting mm-hmm. that we absolutely are.
Starting, so when is that going to be?
We just spooled it up just a few months ago. It's called 1836 Real Estate, common ownership, but different management. Mm-hmm. So for agents who are already in the business, maybe looking for a new place to hang their license, give me a call. That's something we could talk about for sure.
Are you guys going to operate your new brokerage differently or non-traditionally than a regular brokerage?
More like a regular brokerage. So it's a different model than Renters Warehouse. Okay. So same ownership, different management, different model, mm-hmm. Just to cover another part of the space.
So tell everybody that's going to be seeing this podcast. Mm-hmm. What it is about Renters Warehouse that makes you different from your competition and why they should hire you if they need a property management company.
So from a client perspective, and like your friend said earlier, we believe in that relationship approach. We tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly right up front, to the point where the fees are in bold in the contract. So there's no fine print. It's all there. But some of the things that make us different are we're the biggest. We think we're the best. We're not perfect, right? We're people like everyone else. When a mistake is made, we're very good at figuring out what happened and how to make it right, mm-hmm. From a peace of mind. And I think that's our biggest differentiator. We offer things like a tenant warranty. So when we lease a property and we place that tenant, right, we do the screening, we do the approval. But mm-hmm. if that tenant breaks the lease in the warranty period, we replace them for free. Any other realtor in town, they're going to charge you another commission. So that's one. If we're managing the property also, that warranty is longer, and you have the opportunity for things like rent protection, which is up to 2 months of lost rent from a broken mm-hmm. lease. Or you have the option for rent advance. You can get a year's rent once it's leased up front in your pocket, which some investors don't care for. They're like, no, thanks. I'll keep all of it and take the risk. And some are like, yeah, I'll take that, and they go buy another rental property. So it just depends on where they're at.
And there's two things that I wanted to ask, and,
yep.
I forgot to ask. Number one, from a maintenance perspective, do you guys handle all of the maintenance requests, and do you have your own vendors that you work with?
That's a great question. We do take all of those calls, whether they're an actual phone call or an email or a message through an app. We take those calls, we handle them, and then we distribute those to our pool of third-party licensed insured vendors. Mm-hmm. The handyman model we did for a while, it's great when it works, but boy, it only takes one time to go bad, and it absolutely eats your lunch. Yeah. So we don't do that anymore, but that's a big piece of what we do for sure.
Okay, so if an investor comes to you and hires you to manage their property, they don't need to come with their own plumber or roofer or whatever, you guys have the
We have
vendors.
folks that we have worked with before that we know the pricing is fair, not the cheapest, not the most expensive, but they charge enough to stand behind their work, which is really important. So
Awesome.
that's how we work.
And same question I asked John. What is it about Jason Miller that everybody should know?
That's a great question.
The hardest.
It kind of is, right? I guess I'm just really grateful to be able to work at it with a team that I know if there's a mistake made, it was honest. Or if I make a mistake, they know it was an honest one, and we have a chance to go fix it, right? Because we're all going to make mistakes, or things happen. Life happens, business happens. A lot of times it's your attitude and your approach to those things that makes you different from others. And that really is part of our culture. It sounds like a cliche. It happens to be true. I've known these guys personally for 20 plus years. And the trust, I would argue, is the most important element of any business. Without trust, you have nothing. The most intelligence, the most skill, the most tools, the most capability, the broadest reach, none of that matters if you can't trust what that person's telling you.
In the industry that we're in real estate, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. I truly believe that. And if
100%.
someone doesn't trust you, it's never going to work.
That's exactly right.
And in today's environment, I don't know if you've noticed it, but customer service in this country is terrible right now.
It's steadily declined over the years, for sure.
So, well, this is great. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you if they need a property management company or to buy a property or whatever.
Well, so you can catch us a couple different ways. Our main phone number is 713-224-RENT, which is 713-224-7368. You can email the company at houston@renterswarehouse.com. And for everybody listening, licensed or not, I love paying referral fees.
Oh, here, check this out. Tell them about go ahead.
The referral fees, it's up to $1,000 per door. It's not per client. That is per door. And we would rather pay those to anyone rather than spend that money on advertising. Those are great relationships. We'll pay you $500 for a leasing referral. You often have to be licensed to get that, but not always. And property management referral is another $500. That's per door, and anybody can get that.
Wow. So did you hear that, guys? You don't have to be in real estate to make money off of this guy.
That's right.
All
That's right.
Just send him a property management referral or a leasing referral.
And the 90-day test drive on the property management side is really important, right? So when someone recommends us for the management side, they can feel good that if it's not a good fit, they're not going to burn their relationship or their friendship, right? Because if they don't like it, they'll have a chance to pull the ripcord.
There you go. Tell them how to get a hold of you one more time.
One more time, Houston@renterswarehouse.com, or our main line, 713-224-RENT, which is 713-224-7368. Or if you want to email me personally, jmiller, JMILLER, @renterswarehouse.com.
Awesome. Again, thank you for being on the podcast.
Kevin, thank you, sir.
Pleasure. This was great. So
I really appreciate it.
Episode number 17. Thanks, guys, for watching. Again, I need to mention and thank my support, who I couldn't do this without. Jennifer Smitis, the Area Vice President, Caitlin Kornick, Devaney Devon, and Wendy Santana. And again, if you're a real estate agent or a vendor that operates in the Fort Bend County area and you'd like to be on the podcast, free advertising for your business, reach out to me, 832-654-0527, or email me at kevin.davidson@stewart.com. This is Kevin's Corner, Real Estate from a Marketing Perspective, episode number 17. See you guys next week. Say bye.
Adios.